everybody, nice to see you again. This is Zoe Burmester here. We're going to just do a very simple little thing, but something that I know that a lot of you are curious about. I'm going to show you how to finish the base of your cake with an edible ribbon. Perhaps you may have entered a competition and the rules state that you are not allowed any non-edible decoration on your cake. So perhaps you would finish the base of your cake with a normal ribbon but can't, so we can do it with an edible ribbon as well. Or perhaps if you don't have a lovely neat edge on the bottom of your cake, you're just starting out, can't quite get that finish, nice little bit of trim, hides all the sins, it's perfect. Here I have some coloured sugar paste, which I've added a little bit of Tylose powder to. Tylose powder is a gum, it's an added gum, which gives elasticity, you can see I can stretch that, to your sugar paste. It just gives me a little bit of flexibility. What I'm going to do is we're going to cut a strip around, and we're going to around the base, and then we're going to add a little bow, just tiny little detail, little thing, super simple, but just show you the process. So I'm going to take my gum paste, my homemade gum paste. You could do this with regular fondant, you could absolutely do this with regular fondant, but the gum paste just gives you a little bit more flexibility, especially when you're making the bow. Excuse me a second, just left my rolling pin over here. Okay, so I want to roll a nice long length that's to go around my cake. So first of all, what you need to do is you need to obviously measure the circumference of your cake. So I would normally do this with a tape measure. A soft tape measure. If you don't have a tape measure, that's fine. Just take a piece of ribbon or something similar that allows you to wrap around the cake. Okay, that gives me my length. And then I know here, okay? That's the length that I need, okay? Which is just about the length of my board. So that's your guide, that saves you, excuse me, I'm gonna get up because I can't roll standing down. I need my welly in it, I need my weight. So what I'm going to do is I want to do this in one long strip. Just move this cake out of the way. So I'm going to roll myself a long strip to the length that I need. Now you can see that I am working on a board that has a grid marked out on it. These grid lines are inch lines and centimetre lines, and I love to work on these boards because it helps me when I come to measuring and cutting. Now there are several ways to cut ribbon. Does anybody have, I'm going to sit down while I talk about this bit, does anybody have a pasta machine? If you have a pasta machine at home with the cutters, you can put your fondant through the pasta machine, through the cutters, and you will get lovely equal ribbons. Love it. Especially if I've got to make more than one of the same width, I would highly recommend that method. The other tool that you may have seen is something called a ribbon cutter, which is on a wheel. It rolls and allows you to choose the width of your cutter, and you can just roll it and cut the piece that you want. Or, you know, we do it the good old-fashioned way, which is by hand. I'm always up for that. Especially, you know, when I first started, I was keen stroke loath to buy lots of different equipment. So I always found the way that I could do this by hand. Okay, so I've rolled out my length of gum paste, and now I'm just going to simply, with my scalpel and ruler, just cut my lengths. We want to go for a ribbon that's around 2 centimetres in width, so that it looks like real ribbon. And I hope you can see that what I'm doing here is I'm lining up. This is where I use my grid lines to get lovely straight lines as I cut across. Now, I have rolled this piece of gum paste. I'm not got enough hands here. I have rolled this piece of gum paste wide enough so that I can cut two 2 centimetre strips. And the reason that I have done that is because I want some for the actual bow that we're creating. So just cut this edge off here. I can see what I'm doing. Always helpful to be able to see what you're doing. Okay, so you can see here my marks. I'm just going to take a little bit off here just so you can see how I'm using these grid lines. So 2 centimetres. Each one of these squares is a centimetre. So I'm going to line up my ruler across and across to my 2 mark. Okay. And I'm just going to slice my way across. Being careful not to slice my fingers. Oh, I have done that before. So, okay. Then I'm going to do the same thing again, going up another 2 centimetres, so that I have created exactly the same width for the bow that we're going to make in due course. Now, because this has Tylose powder in it, it's a little bit more flexible than regular sugar paste, which will allow me to bend and twist this bow into shape. It also just gives me a little bit more time in trying to get this around the cake. Okay, so let's put what we don't need to one side. Now, you can apply this with water, really, or edible glue. And the easiest way to do this is to brush the back and then put this on. Because it's not too big and because it is gum paste and it's not going to stretch and move out of shape, I will just pick this up and put it on. If it's a bigger piece or a thicker piece, what you can do, I'll just show you, and this is a method that I use if I'm going to panel cover a cake, is you can roll it up over your rolling pin and then pick it up and then unroll it. But I can do this, you know, as like that, so I'm going to. Path of least resistance, I always tend to go for the easier option, but that option is there open for you. So you can either brush the cake or you can brush the back of the ribbon. I tend to brush the back of the ribbon. I have a little tip for you actually, talking about applying things on cakes, just occurred to me. Now if you put a little bit of water on something and then stick this onto the cake, that's it, it's stuck. If you don't like it and you try and pull it off, it's kind of game over, right? I'm sure you have all experienced that. This stuff, however, Trex, is amazing. If you, this is like a vegetable fat. If you were to brush Trex onto the back of this ribbon and then place it onto your cake, if you don't like it, if you don't like where you've positioned it, you can just peel it off and reapply. It's fantastic. If I'm doing a lot of transfer work with slightly more intricate designs onto a cake, I will always use Trex rather than water to stick, because it allows me to move without damaging my fondant underneath. Just a little tip for you. Okay, I'm just going to get up here and you can see we're just going to apply the ribbon. It's going to use my fingers. Let's see if you can see that. There we go. So you just want to apply that and bring that all the way around to the back of the cake. Okay? So, nice, right? Nice little simple finish. So where we've cut these extra strips, we're going to make a little bow that is just going to just add a tiny bit more interest to the ribbon. So I've cut a length, and essentially, this is a very simplistic ribbon, but what we're going to do is we're going to take the two ends and fold them into the middle, like this. Okay? Now, if I were going to create a bow higher up the cake, I would add tails underneath, but we don't need this. This is a bit more of a bow tie look, shall we say. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the middle with a little bit of water. And I'm going to take my end and I'm going to pinch. I'm going to fold and pinch into the middle. I'm just checking Now again, you can use your grid if you're not sure here for your middle section. In true Zoe fashion, I'm winging it slightly and doing it by eye. But I'm just pinching and pressing into that middle section. Now don't worry if the middle of this bow is looking a little ugly, because we're going to cover it up. One thing actually I will say generally about cake decorating is it's really easy to get super stressed about things not being perfect, things not being right. And I try, this is something that I suffer from myself, but I always really try just to remember to enjoy the process. You know, essentially we start doing this because we enjoy it, right? It's fun. So don't lose that. We all seek perfection, I know, but enjoy the process. And if something goes wrong, do you know what? It just makes you a bit more resourceful and a bit more clever and a bit more creative. So I've squeezed in my middle, can you see? Now, at this point, you want to keep your loops nice and loopy. You could roll a little bit of kitchen towel or something like that just to put that inside, just to let that set. That's got a nice little bit of volume, okay? Because we're filming this and I'm going to go through, we're going to skip that little bit so that but remember here we said this was all a little bit mucky, we just need to cover that up. So I'm just going to cut myself a little middle section and add a little bit of water. Now again, you could crease and ruche this, or you could keep it flat. We'll just give it a little bit of movement, shall we? You could turn the whole thing upside down very carefully and then just tuck it in over the back, or cut it off. You are not going to see this, so work with whatever works for what you're doing. Okay. Now, as I say, at this point, before I would apply it on the cake, I would stick a little bit of just filler stuffer in there and just leave that for about an hour or so, just for it to harden and to give me my shape. So let's just pretend that we've done that. You're with me, right? You know, I can tell that you're with me. And then let's just stick that on the side, shall we? You should, again, be okay with water. If you find that it's not holding, use edible glue at this stage. And just pop that on the side like that. This is where we get the slightly fat fingers that don't do what they're meant to, so I go in with the side of my brush. Okay. Look at that, how cute is that? And that is our little bow. Really simple, right? Super simple, but really effective and just a really nice way to finish that off. If you wanted to, you could go a stage further. You could brush this with a little bit of luster dust. You could stick little polka dots on it. You could do whatever you like because it's your cake. Well, I hope you have found that useful. And as I say, a really good tip for edible decorations, especially on a competition cake where you need to finish the board. Thanks for watching.